That Great Business Show, Ireland's best business podcast.
Welcome to episode 140 of That Great Business Show, posting on the 19th of May, 2023. I am Conal O'Moran, Foytisteach. Coming up, business tips, insights and opportunities in a podcast that is just long enough for your daily walk, with thanks to donedeal.ie. On this episode, we will be talking about how to properly avoid greenwashing and also how not to tip a vending machine. Yep, tipping a vending machine seems to be a thing now. And all of these tips and insights are brought to you thanks to Dundeel Motors, the only place to look for your new or previously loved car, van or truck. Donedeal.ie.
Dundeel Motors is home to Ireland's largest range of new and premium used cars. That's why you'll find cars from Audi and BMW dealerships on Dundeel. Are you looking for a 7-seater to accommodate your growing family? Maybe you're after a luxury saloon to make a statement. We have the car for you. You'll also find Ireland's largest range of electric cars to help you make the switch. Visit donedeal.ie today to start the search for your next car.
De facto shaving oil, the world's best shaving oil. Made in Mayo, sold worldwide.
All That Great Business Show advertisers are Team GBS approved. Back them.
We spotted a curious article in the Wall Street Journal about businesses introducing new options for tipping at self-checkout machines like coffee shops or airports. Yes, you can now tip a machine where you press the buttons. Being the US, we're talking here about a typical 20% being added to your purchase price. And if you haven't been to the States recently, well, prices are plumb crazy. Like $6 for a bottle of water from a vending machine in the airport. And now they're asking for a 20% tip on top of that for you to push the button to pick it up yourself. As one person quoted in the article said, they're cutting labour costs by doing self-checkout. So what's the point of asking for a tip? Others say this is an example of what they call tip creep, an attempt to guilt trip people into tipping for something when they typically wouldn't. The brilliantly named Strikepay is a fast-growing Dublin-based financial technology company headed by Oli Cavanagh. They offer a seamless and patent-pending technology that allows any business or charity to be tipped, paid, or donated to instantly. But they don't tip machines. Or do they? Oli Cavanagh, founder of Strikepay. Welcome to That Great Business Show.
Thank you very much, Conal. Glad to be here.
You tip machines? Does your Strikepay tip machines?
Well, it's used in many, many environments and locations, but I've never heard of anyone expecting a tip for like a water bottle or something in one of those honesty systems. No, we don't do that, and that's wild. What we do is make payments easier, and the company started because everyone stopped carrying cash 3 years ago, and it became more difficult to pay people. When I say pay, it can be for a service, maybe a plumber for a call-out fee. You don't have the €100 in cash, or tipping a barista or delivery driver, actually, or charities collecting in the street for donations. All three of those kind of broad areas had a huge problem that we fixed, and very quickly early on during the pandemic. And fast forward just over 2 years now, we're in 20,000 locations, helping people get paid, tipped, or donated to easier than they ever have been.
And people might say, why can Oli Cavanagh at Strikepay do this when others haven't done it, couldn't do it, or didn't do it? But what they don't know about you is you are literally a serial entrepreneur. You've had a few businesses along the way.
I've started or been early on in a number of tech companies, I think total 9, of which 5 I was co-founder or founder. Not all succeeded. There's a few lessons learned in there.
That's all right. That's allowed.
Which you won't find on my LinkedIn profile. Actually, there's one failure on my LinkedIn profile because it's a good failure. But the others, there's a couple of exits in there. But I'm still waiting for the big one. And this is, I think, definitely the big one because it's so timely. Strikepay is super timely.
Well, let's talk about how obviously you could see a problem, but was it you who saw the problem? Where were you when you saw the problem? And Were you sitting doodling, watching TV or something and said, I know how to fix this? What was the process?
Something almost like that. During the first lockdown, at the end of it, myself and my wife and the kids got out of Dublin because we had cabin fever, and we went down to Adair and stayed in Dunraven Arms. And there's no elevator in Dunraven Arms. We were on the second floor and we had bags for 4 of us. And there was this young guy, concierge, with a nice uniform on, and he insisted on carrying our bags. I didn't want him to because I knew I didn't have any cash because I'd stopped carrying cash 2 months prior to that completely.
I understand that problem.
Yeah. And I knew my wife had as well. We'd totally gone cashless. And anyway, it turns out so did everyone. So the world was advanced by 10 or 15 years towards the cashless society. So I felt bad because I knew I wasn't going to be able to tip him. And as we were going up the stairs, I was saying to my wife, please just rumble around in your purse, find something. We had nothing. When we got to the room, I said to him, I'm really sorry. You deserve a tip, but I just don't have any cash. And he said, don't worry, no one does. And I said, so you've noticed an effect? And he said, yeah, I used to get lots of tips and I don't get any at all. And then I sat down that weekend and listed 10 or 12 occasions during that first lockdown where I wanted to give someone money and I couldn't. And some of them were scenarios like that, kind of a tipping scenario. Some of them were paying for services. Actually, it's either a dishwasher or a washing machine went and we had to replace it. So we managed to get a plumber during lockdown to do it, and paying him was a pain. And he didn't have any means of accepting contactless payments. He didn't even have Revolut or anything. So I just thought someone has got to come up with something that's going to be massively scalable and basically could be a personal payment terminal.
And that
everyone in the world could have their own personal payment terminal, contactless payment terminal.
What do you do, or how does your one work?
So we came up with when I say we, so I had this idea and I had a couple of thoughts around how it might work using NFC technology or QR codes, which weren't popular at the time, but I thought that they had some potential, and or something else. And I went to someone who's a leading expert in the payment space and said, I think there's a huge problem here. I think there's a massive opportunity. I've done some research, and just between Ireland, UK and the USA, there's 60 million people whose incomes have gone down just in the tipping vertical. And then there's a whole bunch of other people in the kind of tradespeople and, who are finding it difficult to get paid. And then there's pretty much every charity in the world. And so I said, there's a massive opportunity. And can we fix this problem? So fast forward a number of months later, we had, company registered, we had Enterprise Ireland interested in backing us. We did development underway in-house, and we released a product at the end of that year, which was revenue generating on day one after 3 months of development. And we had a global patent filed in it in the US. We did it in the US because it gives you global protection and it's sealed. We didn't want anyone else to see what we were doing.
Sorry, I have to ask you about that. I've never heard of this one. So you can seal your patent and people can't see it?
Yeah, which we thought was important.
Yeah.
And quite often when you're filing patents, it's, other people can see it. But we knew that we were onto something that hadn't been done before, which was basically the world's first instant payment terminal, almost disposable payment terminal that we could give to 1 billion people. And, if you rewind 20 years ago, the thought of everyone having their own mobile phone was wild.
Yeah.
Now, of course, so I think it's the same. I think everyone will have their own payment terminal.
And will it be on the phone?
It can be different places. So some people actually just carry it as a screensaver on their phone, and it's a QR code, just scan that to pay me. And we actually have businesses in the UK using that. At IKEA, if you order a bread or something from IKEA in the UK, their delivery company, which is called Homedale, they deliver it to your house, and the drivers are all trained to assemble. If you want the driver to assemble it, you have to pay extra. So it's minimum £85. Was a problem because people didn't have the cash and they didn't want to go to the ATM. The drivers didn't want to carry a float or didn't want to buy a clunky payment terminal that needs to be charged and expensive and they break. So now literally those drivers have a Strikepay QR code on their phone and they just show it to the customer and say, that's how you pay. And so they scan it. They tip the average kind of £85, then is instantly within about 3 seconds back in head office. So no money goes missing. No money was, no one needed to go to the ATM. It's all totally instant. So that's what we these are the various different things that we've done. Others, if you go into any hair and beauty salon across, Ireland and a whole bunch in the UK, you can see at the counter, there's a strut card there, which is like kind of a tent card, which says, if you'd like to leave a gratuity, please scan here.
I've seen that. Is that one of yours?
Yeah. We're pretty much the monopoly now in Ireland. And so every Peter Mark, every Tony and Guy, all the big, hair and beauty salons, all the barbers, Sam's Barbers, Grafton Barber, Sugar Daddy, Market Barbers, they all use us. And when you go in there, you just scan the QR code and it brings up all either the barbers or the stylists or the therapists and all the beauty salons like Mink and many more. And you just choose the person that gave you your treatment today and tip them directly. And the directly part is really important because it doesn't go through the business, which means they're compliant with the new tipping legislation, which has been extremely beneficial to us, that businesses don't want to take tips through the card machine anymore. I mean, even before the legislation, it was a problem because it created admin overhead and cost to the business.
You have a patented or patent pending technology, but it sounds like Visa, MasterCard or Revolut or somebody should be knocking on your door, just buying you out immediately.
Well, one of those names that you just mentioned did knock on our door, and before
you said, who are you?
Early on. Well, no, early on, and we didn't want to talk to them because we actually didn't want them to know about us until we'd gotten a bit more traction. Anyway, we turned out to have a relationship with them, and we've been responsible for thousands of new accounts.
So my eyes are getting wider and wider because you have a huge business, or the potential for a huge business.
Yeah, potential is huge now. So we kind of dominated Ireland, I think.
Oh, not Ireland. I'm thinking the world.
No, exactly. We're in nearly 12,000 locations in the UK now as well.
How many locations could there be in the UK? Would there be 1.2 million or 12 million or?
Well, there's 60 million people in the UK.
I know, that's what I'm just thinking. 12,000 is not a big number in the UK.
No, exactly. So and those locations that we have are typically they're kind of business environments. But literally, this is a personal payment terminal. So every person in the UK could have it. And
so how are you going to get them to adopt, and how are you going to sell, or what's the process next?
Yeah, so we've done extremely well with a fairly small team in Dublin getting kind of dominant position in Ireland, and probably the leading QR payments company in Ireland and UK, actually possibly at the moment. But to take it up to the next stage requires additional funding. So we raised funding. We did 2 rounds of funding. We did a pre-seed round, which Enterprise Ireland participated in. They're very helpful. And then we did a seed round. And the next one, and the seed round was based on, traction and growth and proof points. And in fact, we didn't even raise pre-seed until we proved that it worked, which is the first time I've done that, actually.
Okay.
Any previous company I've started, we basically gone out and raised money on a brochure. Yeah. Right. This time we decided, myself and Charles Dowd, my co-founder, we decided, no, let's build a product. Let's show that people will actually use it and it works. And, we believed that they would, but we didn't know that they would. People might have said, no, I'm not going to use that. Anyway, so we've normalized the use of QR codes now. Everyone actually is familiar with using QR codes, partly because of us. And they now know that it's more than just, scanning for a menu or something. It's actually a payment terminal. So getting where we've gotten to, so it was really boots on the street. So we had salespeople kind of out there signing up businesses and that. Now we've kind of switched to approaches that are much more scalable. So we don't want to sign up, chain of 5 restaurants or salons or whatever time. We want to sign up 1,000 at a time now. So it's more of a partner play. And that's what's going to bring us into the US then as well, which is kind of the golden.
And when will that happen? And how will that happen? And where will it start? And I know where it'll end. You'll be have an even bigger smile on your face. Yeah,
well, we are trying to do that as soon as possible. Now, we actually started off, we did tests. We have an entity in Florida. We have an entity in the UK now as well. Actually, we actually acquired a competitor over there. But the entity in Florida was for testing to see if people would actually use it over there. Obviously, there's a massive tipping culture, but they've never used a QR code to tip or tap to tip directly. It's always been through the bill. Anyway, it turns out people do like it and they do use it. But the regulatory environment in America is such a nightmare. So even to get regulated in Florida was, months of work. And then you've got to do it 49 more times because each state is almost like a different, central bank.
But could a Visa or a MasterCard do that for you?
Yeah, this is where the partners come in. So now we're catching the low-hanging fruit here, which is, that there's still a lot of room for growth in Ireland and the UK. And in parallel, we're working on, the right partner to take us into America through their regulation and launch us in all 50 states. And that'd be, then we're really on the radar of the big guys.
And QR codes do not recognize language as far as I know. So it doesn't really matter where you go, China, India, wherever. Oh,
absolutely. Yeah. So we have people from probably 100 countries have used our product. And the QR code essentially is a URL. The way we use it, it's a secure URL, and that can be anything. So our QR codes can bring you to different language sites, bring you to Cantonese or whatever. At the moment, it's just English we're doing because there's enough room there.
And everybody's going to ask the same question about hacking. Are you hackable, or what's the security?
No. So the QR codes aren't hackable. Our NFC, tap to pay, that's not hackable. We do get a lot of, or we used to get a lot of hacking attempts online from Russia. So we shut down Russia. People from Russia can't use our product now. Ukraine, unfortunately, as well, we had to shut them down. The US, even at times, we've had to block access from the US. This massive fraud. US is probably the most fraudulent country in the world. So,
so when you say you block access, say, to the US, does that mean that the entire operation shuts down to the US?
That means that certain areas, we can do it by IP address. You can block when if there's hacking attempts. But we've got a risk and compliance team who work with that, and it's not going to stop us from launching in the US. It's just at the moment, it's kind of noise, we just block, the attempts to use our platform.
How big is the company just now?
6 people.
And when will it be 600 people?
3 years time.
Okay. The trajectory is boom, boom, boom.
No, I think it's possible, yes.
Now,
in reality, though, Conal, I'd say would probably be in a different home by then. And
what does that mean?
That will be probably part of a household brand name payments company.
And anybody who wants to jump aboard now, who wants to give you money, would you take their money, or do you need money, or you've just funded again?
No, yes. We're profitable now, which is a couple of years ahead of
which is nice.
Plan.
Business?
But the reason we are is a couple of reasons. One is when all the other companies last year, your Stripe and Twitter and Facebook and everything decided to tighten the belts a little bit, we did as well. And since then, we've actually tripled the business. So our costs have gone down, our revenues have increased significantly. So we're actually turning a profit. And so which puts us so we didn't raise during that time, because you never want to raise when you're distressed. And we're not distressed anymore. So now we are going out to raise again from a position of super strong position, actually, of continued exceptional growth, profitability, proven proposition in other countries now. So yes, we're raising again to initially to accelerate massively into the UK and also to take us into the US.
And who will be raising those funds for you? Do you use a brand name funder, or
we have 2 that we're trying to decide between right now. So I won't mention their names. And but to date, we've
whisper in my ear. They'll be delighted to be
maybe
mentioned.
After us, yeah. But we so far we've done it ourselves. Actually, myself and Charles Dowd. Initially we kind of reached out to our own, because we both kind of founded companies before. So we had a kind of a network of investors and that. So we reached out to people we knew in the first round. The second round, we widened the nets a little bit. But we've done all the fundraising to date ourselves, which is good and bad. The bad is that it does take up a lot of management time.
Yeah,
so
I can
for
imagine
the next round, where we're really taking up a notch, we'd like to get US investors in, which means...
There's a family called the Collisons. They're from Limerick, I think, who are big in payment.
Yeah, are they investing?
I'd say they probably are.
Yeah, maybe we should go to Limerick then, and it's a bit closer than the US. So the reason we'll possibly engage a proper advisory firm now to this is because it brings in bigger investors from the UK and US that we wouldn't have access to.
That's what they
yeah.
You better, before we forget him, you better mention Mark O'Dwyer, Big Red Cloud. He is in business with you, or he is part of, or whatever. Explain.
We recently started, literally 2 weeks ago, we started executing a relationship there with the Big Red Cloud and Strikepay. They are, probably the leading or one of the leading cloud accounting platforms in Ireland. So many thousands of businesses use them for all their accounting, and they all do invoices and take payments and everything. And so what we had proposed to the Big Red Cloud is, look, our platform, we've actually, in a number of ways, we've become an embedded payments platform now. So we don't necessarily need to be the brand out front. We can power other platforms, and we are powering quite a lot of platforms now. So with Big Red Cloud, we've built Big Red Pay, which is essentially a semi-white labeled version of Strikepay. But the really interesting thing about it is, for the first time ever, we don't know if anyone else has done this. All the people who use those cloud accounting platforms, when they start using us or Big Red Pay, let's say, to take payments, it's much easier to get the payments, but B, it's reconciled within the accounting platform. So instantly, from either replacing cash or paper invoices, they're getting instant payments, which are instantly reconciled. So in terms of the business, they have not only to have the cash or the payment much more quickly, they also have all their reconciliation work. So they know
where it came from.
They know where it came from, and they know what they have, to play with on a day-to-day basis instead of waiting for.
That is powerful.
Yeah, I tell you how powerful it is. So 2 weeks ago, we started a roadshow with them around Ireland. So we were in, Wexford, Kilkenny, Galway, Kerry, Cork, Limerick, everywhere. And on the very first day, we were in Wexford, and I stood up and presented, this is Big Red Pay, this is how you can use it. And there was a business there, a quarry company in Wexford, who have 10 people kind of collecting, trying to get money every day or giving out invoices, and 6 trucks, 6 lorries that go out and deliver gravel. Excuse me. And what they were doing until 2 weeks ago on a Tuesday is literally the driver was taking out a paper docket and saying, there you go, that's 650 euro or 2,000 euro or whatever, and handing it to the person saying, it'd be great if you could, pay that at some point. And then accounts would spend the next 10 weeks chasing for payment.
Yep.
So
every business listening knows your pain.
Right. Well, here's what we did. Within 5 minutes at the end of my presentation, the owner of that business is a lady, said, I wanted one of these cards for every truck. And so we have a card with a tap to pay or scan QR code to pay. And so we had all 5 trucks onboarded within about 5 minutes. We have the fastest onboarding experience of any payment terminal.
Wow.
And the drivers now, when they go out, they still hand the docket, but the QR code's there, and they say, oh, that's how you pay. And know that you can actually go ahead and pay, so the people are actually scanning and paying straight away.
Yeah.
So we've shortened the time to get paid from 10 weeks to about 10 seconds.
Oh, yeah. That is brilliant. And that, again, is with Mark O'Dwyer, who must love you.
And his clients love us. I mean, they're already using it. We after day 2 of that roadshow, we could see payments coming through.
We are going to run out of time, but you will please come back to us again, because your business is going to go through the roof, and we need to know more. And particularly when you're ready to tell us who your big partner, the big one in the States is, which could be now Stripe. I'm just looking at his eyes. Could be Stripe. Oh, it's not. No, he just said no, not Stripe. Final question, and I hope you got it. Hire in a heartbeat. Who would you like to hire in a heartbeat?
Someone I only met quite recently, actually, a few months ago. And when I think of her, I just get motivated just even thinking of her. And actually, rewind to Christmas. We won an award, the KPMG Financial Services Awards. We won as the best challenger, I think it was 2022. And lady called up on stage, and the lady kind of shook my hand and presented, there's your award. And I said, thanks very much, took the photograph and kind of walked off. And then afterwards, the next day, someone said, oh God, it was great that you got to meet Louise Phelan. And I said, oh, that name sounds familiar. Who's she? And that's the lady that gave you the award yesterday. I was really embarrassed that I didn't know. So I looked into her background, and she's off the charts. I mean, she ran PayPal.
She did?
In Europe, and plus a load of other companies. And so I reached out to her and said, I'm terribly sorry. I'd love to meet you. I didn't realize who you were. Can we meet for a coffee? And so we met, and an hour later, I was just mesmerized. I've never met anyone with that kind of, she's tour de force, and she's so positive, optimistic. I came away from there thinking, oh my God, Strikepay is going to be bigger than Stripe now, just because she filled me with so much confidence, and she's very, very straight talking.
Love those people.
She's a real straight shooter, like a very direct, blunt even, and I just love that. And other people seem to love it as well, because Michael Leary's brought her on the board of Ryanair, Kingspan have brought her on the board of there, and they just, I presume, love her for the same reasons I do, is that she is just, a rocket,
And we haven't had her on here yet, so maybe Louise Phelan, if you are listening, that you might like to join us on That Great Business Show. Before I let you go, there's always a final question. I love the name Strikepay. Where did you come up with it?
Well, just the motion that you make when you're tapping your phone or striking your phone. And
nothing to do with trade unions and looking for your strike pay.
No. I mean, and did you confuse it with that? I don't know. Or did you think you thought it was a great name? Maybe you thought it was something to do with that. No, in fact, I wouldn't even want any kind of confusion with that. Initially, it was just strike. Strike your phone on one of our tap to pay, tap to donate things, because we were initially some really big charities, Make-A-Wish Foundation, Marie Keating Foundation, Cystic Fibrosis Ireland. They put us in thousands of locations around Ireland where you could tap to donate. So it was Strike. That's where the Strike came from. We just added the pay in order to kind of help with SEO, and that it was going to probably cost $10 million to get Strike being us to the top of the Google search ranking. But once we had to pay, pretty quickly we come up top. And also it's more about what we do. I mean, we are payments, so it's explanatory.
What it says on the outside, type of stuff. Exactly. That is Oli Cavanagh, co-founder of Strikepay. Thank you so much for joining us on That Great Business Show.
Done Deal Motors is home to Ireland's largest range of new and premium used cars. That's why you'll find cars from Audi and BMW dealerships on Done Deal. Are you looking for a 7-seater to accommodate your growing family? Maybe you're after a luxury saloon to make a statement. We have the car for you. You'll also find Ireland's largest range of electric cars to help you make the switch. Visit donedeal.ie today to start the search for your next car.
All That Great Business Show advertisers are Team GBS approved. Back them.
Now, we like bringing you heartwarming, positive business stories on That Great Business Show. One of our favourite heartwarmers is a former banker who turned urn maker and now tree planter, who is Bob Hamilton, founder of IrishTrees.ie. Bob is a huge supporter of That Great Business Show, and some time ago we agreed that Bob would plant trees to mark each episode, and to date he has done so. So, míle buíochas, Bob. Today, Bob wants to tell businesses how the businesses can use his company, IrishTrees.ie, for their sustainability purposes and or reasons. That is by having Bob and his team of forest builders plant trees on behalf of a business. Then the business can use that forest as part of its marketing efforts, demonstrating that the business is actually really spending money on rewilding, and you can touch and see these trees, and it's all having a positive effect on the environment. Bob Hamilton, welcome back to That Great Business Show.
Connell, thanks very much for having me. Yeah, 140 trees. It's almost an anniversary.
Well, it is an anniversary because each episode is an anniversary. But 140 trees. Thank you. It is fantastic.
Well, Connell, you're going to have your own forest in the future.
And anybody can. What a perfect segue. Because how many trees have you planted in total at IrishTrees.ie to date?
It's in 10,000 plus anyway. And it's likely to be tens, thousands in the next planting season. Multiples of that.
Of course, I forgot about that. You're not planting them all the time because you have to... Spring planting, is it?
Well, generally you can plant from mid-October, depending on the temperature, mid-October, end of October, all the way through to April, mid-April. And in fact, this year, April was quite cold, so we got to plant nearly all the way up to May, which was fantastic. It extended the season for us.
And since you and I had the last chat, you have teamed up with a most interesting character called Randall Plunkett. Do tell me, who is Randall?
Randall Plunkett might be known to a number of your listeners. Randall Plunkett is often known as the Death Baron, or Lord Dunsany. He's the 21st Lord of Dunsany. His family have been at Dunsany Castle since about 1820 or 1120. The castle's there 850 years, so has the estate. He has about 2,200 acres. Randall, in fairness to him, as a visionary and passionate environmentalist, has allocated a third of his land, 750 acres, vast acres, most beautiful, to nature and letting it rewild. So Randall and I collaborate with Irish Trees. I need land. I need somebody who's passionate about the environment. I need to know that the trees are protected forever, will never be harvested. Randall needed trees. He wants to accelerate the rewilding to bring back biodiversity faster, a broader range. And I suppose Randall has already about 8 or 9 different woodlands spread around the estate. And they were broken up, separated hundreds of years ago to make way for agricultural land. And now we're looking at reconnecting those and expanding the ancient woodlands. And because we're planting on the outskirts of woodlands and expanding from woodland to another, biodiversity comes back faster rather than planting in a greenfield site because they're already there. We're just building them extensions.
And you're planting native woodland?
Native Irish trees, absolutely. Yeah.
Because we are down to about 2%. If I listen to the other podcasts that you have been on, 2%, the country used to be at 80%, and we went down to 2%.
Yeah, I suppose 1,000 years ago it was probably at 80%, but I think a lot of us are familiar with the history of where did all the trees go? 40 shades of green. It's more like 40 shades of grass.
They went into big bugs that conquered the world for somebody else.
And I don't know whether a lot of people know this, but at one stage, Queen Elizabeth would have ordered that all the woods in Ireland be cut down to hide, so we couldn't hide in our I suppose, guerrilla warfare.
There's an old Irish song, Could the enemy fast gone Imut? What'll we do without the timbers? It's a lovely old song, and that's exactly what that was from. And the other thing that people may not know, or maybe you don't know this, did you know that the Palace of Westminster, as in the Parliament in Britain, is built with Irish oak?
I did, and the roof of the roof of the White House is built with oak from Wicklow.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So there you go.
Before we go down on a little history lesson,
I could. It's certainly
talk
be
to me
about
the business, because you're here effectively to sell to Irish businesses because you want them to collaborate with you.
Yeah, I suppose, Conal, thanks very much for the opportunity. I do appreciate it. And what we're finding with Irish Trees, more and more businesses, from small businesses up to large corporates, are looking to commit to plant trees with us. And why is that? Well, look, everybody knows there's something happening to the planet. It's not good. It needs more trees. It isn't just about reducing your energy, reducing your consumption, reducing and recycling your waste. You have to give something back to the planet. And planting trees gives something back to the planet. And most employees, like 85%, according to formal research, 85% of employees would like to work for an employer who's doing something positive for the environment. And then customers are expecting that. And investors are now even seeking it out. And the EU are bringing in legislation in terms of ESG regulations where all companies are going to have to declare what they're doing to help the environment and biodiversity by 2028. So not only is it a good thing and people want to do it, customers want it, investors want it, businesses want it. And I suppose what I'm hearing an awful lot from the people who have committed, and we have a very, very broad array of businesses represented, is that they're looking to do something beyond just carbon offsetting. And carbon offsetting is fine, but a lot of their customers or indeed other stakeholders are looking for them to do something more tangible, something you can touch, see, visit, be part of. Actually bring your team out and plant the trees, bring your customers and
I didn't know about that you can actually bring them out and to let them plant.
Invariably, nearly all our customers will bring somebody or bring their customer out for planting days. Now, they don't plant all the trees. Maybe they commit 1,000 trees. They might come out and plant 100 trees and enjoy the day. And we go out to Dunsany Castle, see the castle, hear about it, walk through the ancient woodlands, plant trees, and some companies we organise forest bathing for an hour or two just to chill them out. Most of them don't want to go back to work.
Funny that. That's what happens when you work for those kind of companies that want to plant trees, you see. And another thing that I saw is that you're deliberately not making these woods accessible because you're trying to get them to grow, not necessarily to become Disneyland. Isn't that right?
Well, it's not an amenity park. It's a private estate. But anybody that commits to planting trees with us, whether it's an individual, and we do offer subscriptions for individuals, a lot of them, both they and companies that commit to planting trees will have access, and they have access to visit because they become, by committing, patrons of Dunsany, certified patrons, and signed by Lord Dunsany.
What does it cost to plant 1,000 trees?
€18,000.
And is that, you can spread that over a year or 5 years or whatever you want?
Well, I suppose some companies are doing it on a year-by-year basis where they pay an annual amount. Some are committing an amount this year and then they have a 10-year project. And then others are paying on a monthly basis.
Now, tell me about the monthly basis, because that is brand new to me. But individuals and or companies can pay you a reasonable amount every month and feel good about themselves, correct?
we've loads and loads of people signing up as individuals because people want to do something. They don't know they literally don't know what to do. And they like the idea of planting trees. And we have planting days where we bring individuals out, groups of individuals. Might bring family, might bring their kids, grandkids. And the whole families come out. And they sign up for subscriptions. Subscriptions range from €18 a month up to €70 a month. And invariably more people go on the higher end, not even on the average. And I suppose people like the idea initially, but then when they come out and they see the place and they know that they're building their own legacy, they're literally going to be able to come back next year and see how the tree has grown, and generations will be impacted. I mean, it has some depth. And then from a business point of view, if you bring your staff, your team, your management team, a cross-functional team out for the day, I mean, it's better than paintballing, isn't it?
I would imagine so.
Yeah, and it is active. They're engaged in a common cause, and it isn't just a once-off. Some people come to us. We had a class of horticultural students, mature students, come to us, I was 20 odd of them, and they elected to have a tree planting party rather than have a PO party. Yeah.
You were a banker for 35 years. During that time, could you ever have imagined that, we'll say who it was, the Bank of Ireland, would have brought you out to plant a tree?
Well, Bank of Ireland, in my time,
which is a while ago.
It's a while ago. Entertained a lot of people a lot of the time. And a lot of that entertainment were experiences that were short-lived. And I do have some financial institutions planting trees. We've got some very significant ones. So the world has changed, Conal. And I think for people to be doing they're people looking to do something different, but they're also looking to add a depth to their own reputation and some credibility. And if you can give somebody an experience and you're doing something that has a legacy.
Now, I am not a cynic, but if you tell me that you've planted 100 trees or 1,000 trees, I'm going to say, well, where are they? And can I see them? Because I wonder, are they planting the same tree for everybody? As in, that's his tree. Oh, no, that's it. No, that's his tree. No.
Well, no, Conal, because what we do, and what some organisations look for us to do, we have some competing organisations planting trees, and we plant their trees separately. And they've asked for that because they're friendly competitors.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like if Bank X and Bank Y don't want to have
it's not
trees together.
No, it's not that they don't have them together. But I suppose if they're doing something over a number of years, they're doing a legacy commitment with us. They want to kind of compete on how many trees, and they want to kind of we're in effect racing from one woodland to another, separate corridors. So it's just a bit of fun. So, I mean, we can allocate trees to individual companies. You can come see the trees. You can plant the trees yourself. Your team can come out.
And you can actually get down to single trees for single people, because this is a gorgeous idea. Births, deaths, marriages. You can actually commemorate it
Communions,
with a tree.
Confirmations, engagements, divorces. We've done trees for all sorts. We don't do those in Dunsany. We have a separate site. We have a lakeside woodland in the Knoll. That's where the Irish trees are.
The Knoll is County Dublin North.
North County Dublin. We're about 20 minutes north of the airport. It's rolling hills, and there's a beautiful lake. Our land sweeps down into the lake. Planted thousands of trees there as well, primarily memorial trees. And then we've partnered with a number of different charities. We've partnered with Phelan for people that may have lost a baby. We've partnered with the Irish Hospice Foundation. We've partnered with Laura Lynn. And to date, I think we've paid... we would give €40 per tree, every tree that's planted. So to date, I don't know, we've probably paid out near enough 20,000 in charitable donations to those charities.
That's all right, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's good for them, and it's good for the individuals organised. You can imagine, Conal, your best friend, his father dies, and you want to do something beyond, sorry for your troubles, or here's a sympathy card. You organise the planting of a tree. He gets a certificate the next day to say a tree is planted on behalf of his father. Maybe a sentiment on the certificate to say, mighty oak for mighty man. He feels good. It means a lot. You feel good. You've done something a little bit more, and he can come visit.
Am I talking to IrishTrees.ie, or do you have other people? In terms of... sorry to...
Oh, yeah. Sorry. No, well...
I'm just wondering. I'm looking at a guy who is sending out certificates, digging holes, marketing, coming in to do podcasts, and.
Yeah, no, there's more than one of me. Irish Trees is myself, and partner is John Doran. John will own the land in the Knoll. So John is more Chief Operating Officer, and I'm more, I don't know, other guy.
CEO, CCO, CMO,
and then we would have, obviously from a planting perspective, planting happens in the winter when a lot of farm labourers are actually available. So labour is easily got, and there are people that are used to working on the land that can do it.
And what do you do during the summer?
And during the summer, well, then I have the other business, which is Irish Urns. So
I have to say it. Am I allowed to say it again?
And the bulk of that.
Am I allowed to say it?
No.
Ireland's biggest earner. Yeah. I've said it so often.
Yeah,
it's kind of sad
that's
now.
expanded as well. You know, we've 8 people making for us around the country. They're all handmade. They're all high end.
They're
90% goes
beautiful.
to the US. They are nice, and we have a jeweler now as well. Makes us 21 different styles and pieces as well. Everything's made to order on the jewellery side of it. We do keep saying we've loads of different urn solutions.
So you are busy. Now, what can Team GBS, that's our lovely listeners, what can they do for you in terms of the business end on the trees? What would you like them to do?
I would just be saying to your listeners, guys, look, if you want to do something to help with sustainability, obviously a reduction and recycling is very important. Energy usage is very important. But look at allocating some of your resources to doing something for nature. And it doesn't have to be with Irish trees. But I mean, put in a roof garden, put in a bee box on the roof of your building, plant wildflowers, but make an effort that actually helps the environment. Because I suppose the Irish trees model is unusual in that most businesses across time have made the return on taking from the environment. Irish trees is the model where you create an income-generating business that actually gives something back to the environment. And I say every business can give something back to the environment. The commitment doesn't have to be huge. You can start off small. But I mean, talk to your customers, talk to your investors, talk to yourself and your staff. Everybody wants to do it.
And some people, I mean, you're kind of, I won't say Dublin-centric, between the Náil and Dunsany's County Meath. But if somebody in Mayo, if Tom Murphy of Pamex wants to start planting trees, do you have any land out that direction that you could start planting?
Land is not an issue. Really isn't. I suppose from a personal point of view, it's what's within reach, what's manageable in terms of time. So that's why North County Dublin, South County Meath were my chosen locations. It's just from a practical point of view. But the model could lift and drop into any county, into any country, anywhere on the planet.
Any country, because that was going to be my next question, because we love expansion overseas. Have you looked at anything overseas?
Yeah, we have a couple of conversations going on at the moment.
Have you? Go on.
I can't tell you.
Of course you can.
I can't.
You're amongst friends here.
Huh?
You're amongst friends.
Sorry, Conal, that's as far as you're going.
Okay, well, we'll let you go on that one. Anybody who wants to contact you will find you Irish Trees, the plural, IrishTrees.ie. Your last question, and I hope you read the email. Did you read the email? No, he didn't. I can see his eyes dropping down. Who would Bob Hamilton hire in a heartbeat? You were asked this before when you were on episode, what did you say? Episode 28 or something like that?
Something, I think it was. Yeah,
we're now 140.
Yeah, a while ago. Conal.
He didn't read it. Oh my God.
I forgot about that piece. But the last time I would have said Simon Sinek. He's still
I know you can't have the same guy. You have to get somebody else. Somebody who's obviously big on the environment that you think is brilliant. Or maybe not. Maybe somebody who's a big polluter that you say, come on inside and work with me.
No, Conal, there's nothing popping into my head, I'm afraid.
Somebody, you just can't leave without telling us. Somebody, best friend, best business person that you know, somebody who could help you, somebody who's brilliant at digging holes, your best JCB driver.
Yeah, no, it's all shovels, and spades. But let's have a think. It's not popping into my head, Conal. You know, I should have prepared for that one.
Bob Hamilton, I give up.
Yeah. How are you fixed?
Oh, I'm fixed. I'll go ahead and I'll dig a hole for you anytime at all. But you have to organise it as about a fortnight in advance. You can go ahead and visit.
Oh, no, it doesn't have to be a fortnight in advance. I mean, if we're available, if we're there, we're not there every day. You have a week in advance.
And on your website, you even give your own mobile number. Am I right?
Yeah, mobile number, landline, toll-free numbers, everything, yeah.
Talk to Bob.
Yeah, just ring.
And when you're talking to Bob, you might mention to him that he should have hired you in a heartbeat or something like that. Yeah. Bob Hamilton, IrishTrees.ie. Thank you so much again for joining us on That Great Business Show.
Thank you, Conal.
Done Deal Motors is home to Ireland's largest range of new and premium used cars. That's why you'll find cars from Audi and BMW dealerships on Done Deal. Are you looking for a 7-seater to accommodate your growing family? Maybe you're after a luxury saloon to make a statement. we have the car for you. You'll also find Ireland's largest range of electric cars to help you make the switch. Visit donedeal.ie today to start the search for your next car.
De facto shaving oil, the world's best shaving oil. Made in Mayo, sold worldwide. It's all go, le cuirsaí gno, on thatgreatbusinessshow.com. That Great Business Show.
And that is it from That Great Business Show, episode 140. 45 minutes of business insights and inspiration thanks to our sponsor donedeal.ie, the only place to find your next car, new or second-hand. Sign up to our email updates on our website, thatgreatbusinessshow.com, and we will send you our latest news as well as your own personal copy of the podcast. And then you can send that to all your pals and show them that you're really in touch with what's important in business. If you want to advertise with us, we'd love your money. You can contact us on LinkedIn or via the website. We record at the Dublin South Podcast Studios where Lee, 20% minimum tip expected Brennan, is today's sound engineer. Later on, Neil Horner will make sure our podcast is tip-top. See what I did there for sound? When he gives us that final polish. So from me, Conal Moran, Míle buchas to you all, agus slán tamam.